Hello, I want to welcome you to another episode of Recovery Today here on this Zoom platform. It's sponsored by the Recovery Resource Center. My name is Terry Gadurgis. I'm your host for the show. I'm also a person in long-term recovery, and we are a show that talks about different pathways to recovery, different ways people experience recovery, the resources in our local community. We hope to be inspirational and also educational. My guest today is Kenneth Jenkins with the Douglas K. Hamilton House here in Salisbury, Maryland, and I want to welcome you to the show, Kenny.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Pretty well. In this new way of communicating, it's been quite an experience, hasn't it?
Yes, it is. Very efficient, though. So it's like, it actually does, since we can't have live meetings, it's a great way of still getting the message of recovery.
Yes. And I'm going to dive into that here in a moment as to how your clients at the Hamilton House are doing that, navigating their recovery. But before I do that and get you to explain that, as I know you're the house manager there, I believe, maybe the last 2 years, can you share a little bit to our audience in terms of why you do this kind of work and maybe what led you into this kind of work in the recovery field from people suffering from substance use disorder and maybe co-occurring mental health issues?
Oh, yeah, of course. I've been clean for a little bit over 28 years. I'm originally from Baltimore City, where I originally started my journey in recovery. And like a lot of other people, I got caught up in with the disease of addiction. And I was introduced to a 12-step program through a detox center. And even though I didn't get a chance to go to a recovery house, because back in '92 when I got clean, there were some around, but not a lot, and they were filled. And I actually wound up staying home at my mom's house for like my first 3 years of recovery. But what it allowed me to do was it allowed me to understand the benefits of somebody early in recovery having a support system in place. Because that's basically what a recovery house is. We're part of the ongoing part of the recovery plan. Once you come out of inpatient treatment, and even though you're set up into an IOP, intensive outpatient, recovery house is one of the ways where you start to learn how to reassert yourself back into society, because a lot of people will see what we do. They don't understand the emotions and feelings we go through while we're using, and a lot of skills that we're not really familiar with. Especially people like me. I started using it at a very young age. I was almost 30 years old when I got clean. So it was a lot of things I had to be retaught and relearned as far as like dealing with society without the use of a drink or a drug. So, and it was real important. And this house is one of the main things that it's a lot of people call it a job. I call it a labor of love, because I get a chance to see every aspect of the recovery process, from the person coming in really not knowing what's going on to a lot of success stories we have with guys that came in, followed the program, because we actually make you start being accountable for your own recovery. We promote 12-step meetings, not any one, but we promote all 12-step meetings, because it's a very important part for the recovery program, to be around people that's going through the same issues that you're going through. So yeah, so I actually came here 3 years ago from Baltimore City. I was looking for a change of scenery, and I came down. Never heard of Salisbury before I got here. I was down Ocean City a lot of times. Never heard of Salisbury. Didn't know what the heck to expect, but I found a community. What I usually do when I visit any new city, I ask people, where's the center of recovery? Where's the main hub where a lot of people in recovery go to? And the Recovery Resource Center was the place that I was directed to. Through going there and getting involved with the center and a lot of the 12-step programs there, I was introduced to Tish, the owner of the house. And like a year after I was down here, they was looking for a house manager with time in recovery and experience dealing with people in early recovery. And they asked me would I be interested in it. And it's been almost 2 years now. And it's like one of the most God-sent blessings that's happened to me since being down here.
Okay, awesome. I know that these recovery houses are incredibly important. I mean, housing is a big issue. I know in my own journey, and I've been in recovery since 1978 in the Maryland criminal justice system. And when I got out in Southern Maryland, or actually Jessup, I ended up going into a halfway house called the Jude House down in Southern Maryland. Charles County. And it was a lot different than it currently is. But I needed that bridge back into society. As you mentioned, you were 30, I was 20, 21 years old. And as people in recovery navigate recovery, a lot of them do need a supportive, sober, clean recovery where they live, and ideally where they work too. So having said that, you mentioned you're seeing some success stories. So really you're seeing transformation, right? I mean, that's what's going on.
Yes, because it takes a lot because a lot of people that comes into treatment really in the first stages of it have a hard time accommodating themselves back to society, learning how to live life without the use of anything to get them through it. Addiction is more of an emotional disease, and it's just my opinion on it. And that until you start aspects of a recovery that a lot of people don't see, the fact of being able to go back into the workforce, trying to rebuild bridges with your family. And a lot of times that's what we help the guys here with, because we also offer, like, we have visitation days here with family members, especially kids are always welcome here with the parents. We also have 3 additional houses, 2 more up here in the Salisbury area and 1 down in Berlin, that offer the same type of services. We also make sure that you're accountable for it. We offer urinalysis tests. We make sure that you're following all your IOP requirements for that. And we also try to get you into giving back to the community, because we do a lot of volunteer work here for a lot of the surrounding areas where the houses are located at.
You mentioned something that's really important, and that is about the emotional aspects. That some people would say that whenever a person's brain gets basically hijacked from active addiction, be it 12 years old, 16, 20, and then you're then in recovery landing in your 20s or 30s or 40s, you might be a 40-some-year-old going on 16 because your first use was at 15. And when I say first use, I don't mean, I mean first addictional aspects of addiction. And there's a stunt, basically, of emotional, because people check out. I mean, they do not grow. So we know that the recovery track for long-term sustainable recovery, you have to emotionally grow. And a lot of people also, of course, spiritually grow and mentally and economically and all those kind of ways of just life, growing up, basically. And it sounds to me you're in a position to really add some sort of guardrails. You mentioned consequences. And I can see those being guardrails as well for people who need that safe environment. So a particular story or two you could share where you've seen that firsthand that you're comfortable sharing about?
Of course, and we've a lot of times we'll get guys in the house that they believe that once I stop using, once I come out of inpatient treatment, that it's like I'm fine, I'm great. And that could be the most dangerous thing for a person early in recovery, because there's so many things that a normal person wouldn't take as shocking, but we would. The first time getting a job making money, and if you have no ability to be able to appreciate the gifts, a gift can turn into a disaster real quick. And what we try to do is to get the guys prepared that when they do leave here, that they're able to re-enter society and no longer take from them, but to try to contribute back to it. We had a couple of guys here since then that has went back out, has actually, there's a number of successful marriages that came out of guys that came through this house, where for the fact is that when you start dealing with the real aspects of addiction and the true aspects of recovery, miracles happen. And this is one of the bridges that we provide, thank God, that it allows a lot of our younger people. We have more and more kids coming in today. So you're talking about somebody coming in here with no social skills or no way of navigating society as a whole. This is a great place, because once you put the responsibility of your life back into your hands and you're able to offer those guiding principles for them, opening up a bank account, being able to reunite yourself with your children, because a lot of us have kids, but none of us have that much experience as being a parent. And they're like things that we have to navigate around here. And thank God, not only here in this house, but in my time in recovery, I've seen a lot of people that have been able to navigate those paths and been very successful in it. And it's only because of the fact that there were places like this. Sometimes you have to remove yourself from your family atmosphere to see exactly how important it is to your life. Addiction doesn't allow us to see the importance of people in our lives and family members. And this house is one of the places where I see a lot of guys that's been very successful on that.
You're reminding me, yes, about family. I have a saying that we have a family of chance and then we have a family of choice. For
Mm,
a lot of folks, whether you're an addict or suffer from substance use disorder, your social world and your family just breaks apart
mm,
and remorse. And we also know it's a disease of isolation as well. And usually families are the first ones hurt and the last ones help. And I'm glad
yes,
to hear that you're saying that as most of these programs do, is slowly over time, because recovery is a process. I'm sure you would agree. So people don't get sick overnight and they're not going to get well overnight. And
definitely.
it's not about they were bad and now they got to be good. It's not about that from the moral.
Mm-mm.
It's more about recovery, change, and transformation and growth. And that is a process. So saying that, and you being somebody who has the lived experience, who now works professionally in this role, and I've done the same myself, and I've interviewed other guests in that same capacity. What thing or two can you share that's been most gratifying for you, comparing your own journey, like your own adolescence, your own young adulthood and active addiction, and how that feels to you? Obviously, you're sort of you're a role model, so you're in a parental type of role. So can you share a story or two about that for you?
Well, we have a gentleman that's here in the house now that struggled with a great deal when he first came in, as far as with employment or whatnot. And a lot of times they want to give up. And what I always share with people is that, like, never give up 5 minutes before the miracle. We didn't get into drug addiction overnight. It doesn't really start actually with our first use. It's continuously using drugs that get us caught up in addiction. So it's continuously trying to work on recovery that will give us the freedom that recovery brings. And we're not bad people trying to be good. We're sick people trying to be well. Like any disease, we treat this disease the same way you would treat cancer or anything else. And what I also try to share with them, that even the longevity that I've been able to achieve by the grace of God in this program, I still work on my recovery. I still attend meetings on a daily basis. I still interact with not only the new people coming in, but the guy was able to get a job, and he's been here for a little bit over a year. He just got promoted on this job where he's getting ready to run an area on the other side of the bridge for a plumbing company, a very reputable plumbing company. And it was only through his commitment to recovery was he able to do so. Um, and that's one of the small blessings. I've also had people that came around here and reunited with their families, and also a couple of people I know was able to walk their daughters down the aisle at their weddings, which wasn't a possibility when you first come in here. These are some of the miracles that happen in recovery, but only if you have the support. And thank God we have places like this here, because this is one of those areas where you have a lot of young kids getting caught up into addiction and never really understand that this is a lifelong journey that can be achieved, but it's all about the dedication that you put into the quality of a life you want to have. The sky's the limit.
Yes, the sky is the limit, or there is no sky. Um, sort of. So, as we're closing the show now, this time just went by really fast, and
Yes.
as it does, and it's obviously you're very passionate about this journey and helping other people uh, limp along and run along this sort of pathway, and it's a wide pathway. So, in
Mm.
closing, Ken, what would you like to tell the audience that's watching this? This is also shown on the YouTube channel, besides broadcast on our PAC 14, again sponsored by the Recovery Resource Center. That is obviously a very strong resource. But in terms of closing, what would you say to the audience about either the Hamilton House or people that are early in their recovery or later in their recovery?
Yes. One thing I would like to put out to anyone, a person that's caught up into addiction or a person that have a family member, there is hope. Um, there is a way out of like the endless pit of despair that we find ourselves in. But what a lot of times what we have to do is allow the person to understand that they are worthy of the help that we have for them. And it has to be the individual's choice, that never give up on anyone. That recovery is here and it is available to anyone that has the ability to believe that they can do so. I never give up. It's like this is a great area. And I thank God for my position here in the house. It does more for me than I ever think that I do for it, but it's one of the blessings of recovery. So thank you so much for having me.
Okay, Kenny. I look forward to meeting you again when normal times, whatever that looks like, is going to
Yes.
happen. So I want to thank our audience for watching another episode of Recovery Today, sponsored by the Recovery Resource Center. There's information on the screen about the Hamilton House, how to get in touch with you guys, as well as I hope to in the future to have the Hamilton House founder, Fish Hamilton, be a guest on this show, and look forward to that when we are able to do that episode. So again, I want to just remind people recovery is a process. It's not an event. There is hope. It is a journey. And there is an incredible amount of people in the community who are there to help support you in the faith communities, in the therapy community, in the freestanding recovery homes community. And it's just a matter of picking up the phone or doing email or texting to say, I need help, and it's there for you. So again,
Yes.
thank you again for another episode of Recovery Today.
All right.